Hey everyone, welcome back to our study in the book of Isaiah. We are in Isaiah chapter 8 today. Let's go ahead and take a look. Our PDF is free on our website. If you want it, you can download it in the link in the description below. As far as our timeline, the events of Isaiah 8, the words that are documented here, were documented during the reign of King Ahaz. You remember him from the last couple chapters. He was worried about the threat of Syria and Israel to his north coming down and fighting against his country, Judah. And Isaiah and God have been reassuring him that Israel and Assyria are not going to succeed in that. So we're going to see more of that today. For our key characters today, we have Isaiah, the son of Amoz, the prophet of God. We have Ahaz, we've already introduced him, the king of Judah, Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the king of Israel, the ones who are threatening Ahaz. And we could probably also mention the Assyrian Empire here, which is going to play an important role. Our definitions are a little bit different today. We first of all have waters of Shiloah. Now, most scholars think that this refers to a stream that flowed pretty gently by the city of Jerusalem. And these gentle waters in this chapter represented the peace of God, and they're contrasted with the terrifying flood of an Assyrian invasion. We also have the term necromancer in verse 19, a magician who practices magic that's related to the dead, and their work could span from communicating with the dead to actually reanimating dead people's bodies and spirits. Okay, so let's now get into the text. I've got two sections to break up our 22 verses. The first one is the first 10, the sign of Maher-shalal-hash-baz. And if I'm not mistaken, that is indeed the longest name in the Bible, even longer than Nebuchadnezzar. Isaiah was told to write down a prophecy that related to a son not yet born to him. God promised that before the son came of age, the Syrians and the Israelites who threatened Judah would be defeated by the Assyrians. Notice there's a difference between the Syrians and the Assyrians. The prophecy was written down, and Uriah the priest and Zechariah the son of Jeberechiah were selected to be witnesses to the truth of this prophecy. So they're witnessing to the fact that the prophecy is spoken, and then, sometime later it will be fulfilled, and they'll be able to say, yes, this was a genuine prophecy, it came true. Sometime later, Isaiah had relations with his wife, who in this chapter is called the prophetess, and she conceived a son. God instructed Isaiah then to name his son Maher-shalal-hash-baz, which means hasten to the spoil. And that name is significant because Assyria was going to hasten or very quickly destroy Syria and Israel and plunder all of their possessions. The Assyrian Empire would also threaten Judah, and they would do them some harm, but God ultimately would preserve them. And then our second section, verses 11 through 22, a sanctuary and a stumbling stone. God told Isaiah not to fear what the people of Judah feared. Ahaz the king, the people, they're all terrified of Israel and Syria. But God says, don't go along with them. Do not fear Israel and Assyria. They are not going to destroy Jerusalem. Instead of fearing Syria and Israel, the people of Judah really should have been fearing God and honoring him, which is something that they weren't doing. To those who trusted in God, God would be a sanctuary, a safe place to them. But to those who rejected him, of which there were a lot of people in both Israel and Judah, he would be a stone on which they would stumble and be broken. Isaiah resolved that he was going to put his trust in the Lord and, quote, wait for the Lord. And his children and he would be signs to God's faithful people of God's faithfulness when all of God's promises came through and when he brought Judah through this time of trial and threat. The people of Judah would be tempted to look for other signs which God didn't give, signs from people like necromancers or sorcerers. But God says that those are a waste of time. Those who put their trust in those methods, they would find themselves lost, hopeless, and distressed. So that's going to be our breakdown for chapter 8 today. It's a promise to Judah that God's not going to let them fall to this threat of Israel and Syria, but it's also a reminder, a warning to Judah, an admonition to Judah to come back and honor the Lord and respect the Lord, which they haven't been doing. For our application today, we'll take it from the end of the chapter, and it's this. There has never been and is not currently any truth to be found in sorcery, fortune-telling, or other magical practices. God never encouraged anyone to familiarize themselves with magic or pagan arts in order to get in touch with the spiritual realm or to discover spiritual truths. In recent months and years, I personally have seen, and I know others have seen, a lot of people, a lot of movements promoting like a synthesis between Christianity and paganism. So it takes Christianity and some of the truths that are there, and it kind of intertwines them with practices from Eastern religions and sorcery and neo-paganism. And it presents this kind of new, more open-minded, enlightened Christianity, and it presents God as encouraging these accessory pathways to know him better. But this new form of Christianity, if you can even call it that, is contradictory to what the Bible tells us about what God thinks of the practices associated with paganism and magic and some of these other things. God never talks about these practices as beneficial to our knowledge of him, but always as things that detract from truly knowing him. That's going to be the end of our study. I hope you'll be back tomorrow for another really important chapter in Isaiah that has a really important prophecy, Isaiah chapter 9.